Hey guys, Apev here. This is a random thing I just wanted to talk about. I recently got a MacBook and put Linux on it because it was an older MacBook and it couldn't really do much, but I really wanted to mess around with Linux. I ended up downloading a operating system called Elementary OS just to kind of help me navigate Linux, as I am entirely new to Linux, but maybe that's another video for another day. In this video, I wanted to talk about some free games that I found while messing around with this, as well as other free games for Linux that I have tested on Windows simply because this old MacBook can't run everything. First, I'm going to start with 3 honorable mentions, which are kind of part of the list, and then 3 that are actually part of the list. The first of the honorable mentions is FreeDoom, which I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of a recreation of all the textures in Doom. They're basically recreating Doom for the Doom engine because the engine is open source but not the game. It's kind of complicated, which is why I made it an honorable mention. The other game is Cave Story, only because I've already played Cave Story and talked about Cave Story on this channel a bunch, and I just really like Cave Story, so that had to be on there. It's a game a lot of people know of. It eventually got physically released on the Nintendo Switch. I believe it was made by one guy over the span of like 10 years and was a big passion project, and it kind of created the internet indie video game fandom concept. Prior to Cave Story, there weren't too many just indie games blowing up on the internet like how Minecraft and Slenderman and Undertale eventually did. Then there's Fallout 2 3D, which is Fallout 2 but kind of recreated to match early Elder Scrolls graphics. That's at least how I'm viewing it. It's pretty cool. The only reason it's on honorable mention is because I had to play it through Windows. It's in very early pre-alpha, and I don't have too much experience with it or Fallout 2 to really give much of an opinion on it, but it looks cool and I wanted to mention it. Alright, the first game I wanted to talk about on the primary list is Blades of Agony. Now this is kind of a Doom-like game that was also inspired by games like Medal of Honor. It takes place in World War II, and I've been really impressed with it. The graphics are top notch. I'm not sure if it's made in the same engine as Doom or a heavily modified version or an entirely different engine. It kind of feels like a lot of those 2.5D remakes of old RPGs we've been getting, where the lighting is way better than anything you would have seen in the 90s. Really, my only complaints with it is there isn't enough voice acting. I get kind of sick of having to read everything, and there's some humor that just doesn't hit, including some nudity, which I felt wasn't necessary for a game like this. And apparently there was some controversial back and forth about trans identity with the development team and critics of the game, and I haven't read into it because honestly I don't care. It's a free game and I'm just here to play the game, and since it's a free game I am not really putting any additional money into the developers' pockets whether I agree or disagree with them. So if you're interested in this game, it's free, you can download it pretty much anywhere, and it's on multiple platforms, so give it a shot if you like World War II games, 2.5D looking games, or Doom-like games. Now, a fun little game that you can also download is Wizzerd Quest. This is kind of extremely simplified Elder Scrolls to create a small little 8-hour story, and it's not too long, it's not too difficult to run, and it's just meant to be a fun little thing. This is a game I really would recommend playing with a mouse. Playing it with a laptop trackpad kind of was stupid on my part. But if you want to play the Elder Scrolls and don't want to pirate it and don't want to spend money on it, well, here's a little action RPG adventure that might satisfy that itch. The last game I want to talk about, I don't exactly know how to pronounce. I think it's Frogatto or Frogatto. Whatever it is, it's this cute side-scrolling platformer, but the detail in it is really impressive. Like, I didn't expect to walk out of my house and be blown away with the pixel art in this game, because once again, most platformers that are free usually skimp out on the pixel art, but this one did really well and the controls feel really solid. There's more of a story in it than most the NES games, which I appreciate because I always like a bit of a story to keep me intrigued. So once again, this felt like a complete experience that was just really solid, and I can't believe I had never heard it before. It kind of reminded me of when I first found Cave Story and was like, this game is amazing, how is it free and how can I just play it? So that made me really happy to just discover what people are able to put together purely for other people's enjoyment. Now, actually, I lied. There is one more honorable mention, and once again, I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to put this one on the screen. It's like Oolite or something like that. The reason I even downloaded this game was because I wanted something that reminded me of an Atari 2600 game, but for a computer. And this one eventually popped up, and I was really surprised by it because it's made to run on pretty low specs despite being a open world space exploration game. You can really do whatever you want with it, and I haven't gotten very far into it, which is why it's a honorable mention. It kind of feels like a game that I could really get lost in, both in a good and a bad way. But I'm sure there are tons of other free and open source games available on Linux that I haven't talked about just because I am completely new to all this. But also, these were games that I found interesting. There's games like Zero AD that just don't interest me very much, so I'm not talking about them, but if you're a console gamer like me, these might be some games that interest you. The number one reason why I wanted to make this video was just to bring more attention to these free and pay what you want and open source games, just because I feel like they deserve more love, and also the fact that if you have a vaguely decent computer from the last 10 years and you put Linux on it, there's still quite a few stuff you can play on it, even if you don't want to spend any money. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I decided to record literally on New Year's Eve out of nowhere, and I'll see you guys in the next one.